indicator to your chart. So on my screen, I've got MetaTrader for MT4 open. And what you want to do is go to insert indicators. Okay, so from here, you need to think about what type of an indicator are you looking to add. An EMA, exponential moving average, is a trend indicator. Okay, so click on trend and then click on
Can
moving
we all
average.
observe
Okay,
a moment of
from
silence?
there, in the 5-minute scalp trading video that I created,
Thank you.
I mentioned using the 10 and 15 period EMAs. So you would add a 15 period EMA. So we're clicking on the drop down box.
Ngibingelele. As we all aware that the speaker indicated yesterday in the opening of the sitting that we are going to have the House converted to committee state. We are in that stage now. Today we'll be dealing with 3 votes that will be done. It's Office of the Premier, which is vote 1, vote 6, Finance, and vote 12, which is Transport. Thank you, honorable members. In terms of rules, honorable members, this budget debate is conducted through the hybrid means, and the normal standing rules of the legislature will apply to the debate. In terms of connectivity, before we proceed to the budget debate, I must reiterate the ruling of the Speaker which relates to connectivity problems. The Speaker has ruled that the following measures will be adopted to try to assist the members who may not be able to participate in a debate due to connectivity challenges. If a member has a problem with connectivity and unable to deliver his or her speech, the presiding officer will call the next speaker on the speaker's list so as not to delay the proceedings. If the member regains connectivity before a response to the debate has commenced, the presiding officer will be flexible and allow the affected member to deliver his or her speech, with the proviso that the member reconnects to the sitting prior to the commencement of the response to the debate. Secondly, we request that member who is scheduled to participate in the debate should arrange for a fellow party member to be on standby to read the member's speech into the record should the need arise. The presiding officer will allow a fellow party member to read out the speech on behalf of the member who is unable to deliver his or her own speech. 3, if all interventions fail and the member is still unable to deliver his or her speech and has not managed to arrange for a fellow party member or a whip to deliver the speech on his or her behalf, the speech will unfortunately not form part of the official record of proceedings. In short, if members have connectivity problems, the presiding officers will follow the above guidance to try and assist them. We trust that this is in order. Lastly, members who are not actively part of the debate are reminded to mute their microphones and switch off their cameras at all times. Also, members are requested to take reasonable measures to reduce any background noise that may interfere with the broadcasting of the proceedings. Honorable members, I also wish to confirm that the budget report 2022 and 2023 of the Office of the Premier has been tabled in terms of the standing rules. We will proceed with the matters on the agenda, being the debate on vote 1. Azwakala. Okay, thank you.
EMA. And it's set
I'm
up
not
to
so
8
sure
and
whether I'm
21.
audible. Is it
Okay,
okay
there's
now?
really no magic here.
Am I
Also moving
audible
one
enough?
direction. So for pull,
Thank you.
just moving averages or
Eh,
sticks.
For vote
So
one,
just
we'll be
expect a
debating
simple
for
pullback to form. You see the
135
pullback happen,
minutes.
and either the
There
break
will
of the
be a
trend line.
report by the Premier in the Office of the Premier's budget. The Premier will be giving that report in 45 minutes that is allocated to him. Then after that, there will be, on behalf of the chairperson of the Premier, the Honorable MPP Zongo, for 10 minutes. Then we'll have the members, all members from the ANC, Ozotolo 9 minutes, Ube IFP Ozotolo 4 minutes, DA Ozotolo 8 minutes, EFF Ozotolo 6 minutes, but there is an apology that is indicated to have been received. NFP Zobana 2 minutes, ANC 9 minutes, then MF 2 minutes, ATM 2 minutes, ACDP 2 minutes, IFP 6 minutes, ANC again 10 minutes, then bese siba nama response
Price is going to make an impulse.
Premier
consolidate
wethu.
at the high of that issue. And then we're going to use a momentum indicator, and for this I'm going to use a
Let us welcome our Honorable Premier, Honorable Zigalala, to deliver your report for 45 minutes.
Thank you. Honorable Chair, honorable members of this House, our guests who are with us today, the Director General and all senior officials who are here with us, Sanbonani, Uday, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum. We deliver this budget policy speech for vote one, which is the office of the Premier, to this esteemed House after marking 28 years since South Africa entered democratic rule and severed ties with the racist apartheid regime, setting our country firmly on the path to true non-racial, non-sexist, prosperous, and democratic society. We commemorate the Freedom Month under the theme, I quote, consolidating our democratic gains, close quote. We do so in recognizing the giant steps we have taken, but also the road yet to be traveled. We commit to strive daily to honor the contribution and heroic role and sacrifices of those who laid the foundation on which we continue to build. As reflected yesterday, our Muslim compatriots have marked the end of the holy month of Ramadan and the beginning of the new season has particular significance for all people of KwaZulu-Natal who are beginning a new journey of recovery, restoration, and lasting peace in the aftermath of the season of the storm and floods that devastated the province. We say Eid Mubarak to all our fellow citizens of the Islam faith. As I reflected, on Monday, the 2nd, ibandla lamaNazaretha commemorated its founder, Inkosi u-Isaiah Kashembe Pombela, who founded the church more than a century ago. We cherish the rich spiritual heritage of Shembe Church and take immense pride in it as the people of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Honorable members, we stand here rallying from an extraordinary act of nature that has produced the most catastrophic human tragedy in the history of our province and the country. We are still nursing our wounds, recovering from the tragic loss of life and human suffering on massive scale. The provincial government and the people of KwaZulu-Natal pay tribute to South Africans from all walks of life, political parties, civil society, and the international community for standing with our province during South Africa's worst floods in the recent history. We lost more than 435 people. 63 people are still missing, and 630 schools were affected. Once again, we want to convey our deepest sympathies to families who lost their loved ones, and we pray that those who are yet to locate their loved ones will ultimately find closure as search and rescue effort continues. Together with our social partners, we have been hard at work healing the wounds and providing support to the bereaved and affected families, ensuring that they bury their loved ones with dignity. We applaud the decision by COSATU to use the International Workers' Day, which is known as the May Day in the country, to commemorate to contribute toward flood relief effort in the province, where they donated goods that worth 500,000. We also take this opportunity to acknowledge the contributions from various foundations and organs that have contributed to alleviate the plight of the people. These include Motsepe Foundation, AFPOP, Gift of the Givers, ABSA, Rivers Church, Hillgrove Hindu Temple, Revival Mission Center, the Catholics, the Salvation Army, the Covenant Fellowship Church International, the Ntenga Foundation, among others. We have also noted with gratitude that Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation has also donated 1 million to the Solidarity Fund toward flood relief effort. Honorable Speaker, His Excellency President Ramaphosa presented the intervention plan for the government, which seeks to address the effect of these floods. This plan is centered around the three focal areas, which are continuing with immediate humanitarian relief, recovery, rehousing people and restoration of services, and rehabilitation and reconstruction of the province. Honorable Speaker, while we waded through the valley of sadness in our province, the leadership of His Majesty, King Misuzulu KwaZulu-Natal, continues to comfort and inspire us. There can be no doubt that the sun has risen. Given the magnitude of floods, disaster, and the royal family having lost 5 family members, Isilo decided to postpone his coronation to give full attention to the disaster, but also to give the opportunity for the people to mourn and recover. Our king didn't only console his people in distress, but has been leading from the front in mobilizing resources to meet the needs of our deprived communities. Sitibayete, wena wendlovu. We deliver this address still fully aware of the epoch-changing developments in our province, which are the COVID-19 outbreak, the floods, and the passing of His Majesty King Goodwill, as well as the Regent Queen, Mantombi Dlamini Zulu in the same year. In the coming days, we will join the Royal House as we commemorate the passing of our regent queen, our queen regent rather. The provincial government will support the royal family as we remember Her Majesty and pray for the healing of our nation following the pain we have been going through. We wish to convey our deepest sympathies to the royal family on the passing on of Princess Thembi Zulu Ndlovu, sister to the late uMdlokombane uBenjani Phuma Esiqiweni. Kunina nonke bophunga nomageba nemndeni yonke elahlekelwe sithi lalani ngenxiba. As a resilient and resourceful people, we refuse to let the flood catastrophe thwart our effort toward economic recovery and transformation in the midst of the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. We commend the decision by His Excellency President Ramaphosa and his cabinet to accede to our request to declare this as a national disaster after it was initially classified as the provincial state of disaster. The coronavirus nearly decimated economies globally as it forced unprecedented closure of normal businesses and trade. We continue to monitor the trajectory of the disease and reported upsurge of the COVID-19 cases. We emerge from these and the July unrest more determined, aware that to attain a new and better KwaZulu-Natal for all, we must work even harder to achieve our goal of a truly free society. Through our economic reconstruction and transformation plan, we seek to restore growth to pre-COVID-19 level and to create jobs as we totally transform our society. To achieve these goals, we are cognizant that it will take every sector and member of our community through deliberate social compact with our social partners to drive collaboration with government at local, provincial, and national level toward the single objective of rebuilding KwaZulu-Natal. We are not fazed by our setback and disasters. We remain committed to the theme of, I quote, turning the corner in KwaZulu-Natal, building on our resilience, forging lasting peace, creating job opportunities, and ushering in sustainable growth, close quote. And this is what we pronounced on the 24th of February this year when we presented the State of the Province address. We can report that KwaZulu-Natal continued to lead in the implementation of extended public works program, with this sixth administration having created 446,283 work opportunities against a target of 643,263 work opportunities over the 5-year period. Even as we make this remarkable progress, according to the latest quarterly labor force survey by Status A, the unemployment rate currently stands at 35.3%. We ascribe this primarily to the structure of our economy, which lacks industrial capacity, has high input cost, embedded corporate corruption, failure of companies to reinvent, lack of sustainable energy generation, instability created by criminal activities of business forum, and of course, the COVID-19. As a defining feature of changing economic times in which we live, our budget as the OTP will, however, still decline from 802.24 million which was allocated last year to 763,551,000. Honorable Speaker, it is time for the people of KwaZulu-Natal to rise again and become the architect of peace, security, and prosperity by forging together with key priorities that brings us together. These priorities are economic recovery and creation of jobs, improving access to water and sanitation, fighting crime and building safer communities, social protection and human development, building the capacity of the state, building a better Africa and a better world. KwaZulu-Natal is forging ahead with the implementation of economic recovery and transformation plan to accelerate economy growth and to speed up social and economic change. The plan focuses on agriculture, industrial development, health innovation and manufacturing, clothing and textile, creative industry, investment and trade, infrastructure development, tourism, ICT, and innovation and finance. We're pleased by the recent launch by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa of the Eastern Seaboard Development Project, which is in line with the vision of spatial transformation and inclusion, and involve groundbreaking collaboration between KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape, as well as the municipalities within these areas. The provincial government will continue with the work with national entities in roads, ports, and aviation sector to invest in infrastructure development. Honorable Speaker, to foster radical socio-economic transformation, our province has adopted the Black Industrialist Program and further roll out the implementation of Operation Vula as an overarching policy intervention to support SMMEs. These include, among others, the industrialization, the Black Industrialist, the RASET programs, which support the agricultural sector. It also includes the introduction of the KwaZulu-Natal Youth Fund. To enhance energy generation, we want to identify that one key area that has been hindering our economic growth prospect is persistent energy shortage, resulting in load shedding. We are taking various steps to ensure energy security, including conducting feasibility study on green hydrogen energy and using the availability of sugarcane to drive our competitiveness in terms of biofuel. We are also pleased that Richards Bay continues to explore the hosting of 2,000 gas megawatt, which is the LPG. We are proceeding with our province-wide digital transformation strategy, which will cover ensuring that the broadband is rolled out throughout KwaZulu-Natal, access to fourth industrial revolution, and ICT-related services. One of the focus area for the Office of the Premier is to turn the tide against the shameful scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. We will at the same time support all organic initiative by community themselves to stand up against gender-based violence and femicide and implement the 365-day GBV and femicide strategy. In this regard, Honorable Speaker, we wish to convey our deepest sympathies to Advocate Godrich Godi's family for losing their 28-year-old daughter, Hilary Godi, in what looked like another case of violence perpetrated against women. Honorable Speaker, the murder of people in Phoenix and other areas in KwaZulu-Natal is a stain on the road we traveled toward racial tolerance since 1994. We are determined to use this unfortunate development to build ever stronger communities across racial and class boundaries of our cities and rural areas. Our healing campaign will focus on repairing relations between Indians and Africans, but we are also to find, if we are to find true redemption and peace, we must also create bridges between Africans and white people, Africans and coloreds, and between locals and foreigners. The fight against violence and crime will intensify as we strengthen the implementation of the provincial social cohesion and moral regeneration program with practical projects promoting Ubuntu to address racial intolerance, Afrophobia, and all forms of social ills. This program will be complemented by multi-stakeholder outreach seeking to resuscitate community leadership to take charge of promotion of peace, safety, and cultural development. Honorable Chair, the departmental budget votes are meant to respond concretely to the commitment made during the State of the Province address. Budgetary allocation must reflect the prioritized areas during SOPA and commitment to build stronger, transformed and inclusive province for all. The Office of the Premier is responsible for the transversal functioning of government by coordinating, monitoring and evaluating our provincial delivery programs. We take the cue from the National Development Plan 2030, the Provincial Growth and Development Strategy and Plan, and the MTSF Implementation Plan, which is customized through the NDP. And that goes down to local in a form of supporting DDMs as well. The Office of the Premier has a structure that is as follows: administration, institutional development, policy, and governance. The key strategic interventions driven by OTP include the Siyahlola program, which involves unannounced visits to service delivery centers and program feedback to communities, the Poverty Eradication Master Plan, the Inkululeko Development Program, where government move into an area which is destitute, engage with local stakeholders and build the infrastructure and social development project that will change the surface and outlook of that area. We are also focusing on the implementation of the provincial implementation plan on HIV and AIDS, TB and STIs. The provincial communication strategy is also our core focus with an aim of enhancing reputation and recognition of the province as well as improving stakeholder relations. Our task also includes supporting vulnerable groups such as women, people with disability, the elderly, children, and LGBTQI+. We are also responsible for democracy support, human resource development strategy, the youth development strategy, the provincial stakeholder coordination, and provincial intergovernmental relations and social cohesion, as well as moral regeneration. We are also guiding and implementing the digital transformation strategy. The district development model as well as Operation Sugumasake, our core focus of our program, which was introduced during the advent of the 6th administration. To reaffirm Vision 2030 of KwaZulu-Natal, the mission statement was reviewed and encapsulated to drive a KwaZulu-Natal that strives to be a province that maximizes its position as a gateway to South and Southern Africa, radically transform its socio-economic landscape, eradicate abject poverty, inequality, unemployment, and the burden of diseases. Delivers an environment where people have healthy and sustainable options on where and how to live, work, and play. In terms of the budget allocation, Honorable Chair, Program 1, which is administration, is allocated 193,426,000. The office of the Premier for 2022-2023 is allocated, as I indicated earlier, 763,551,000. At the head is Program 1, which provide administrative support to the Premier, the Director General, and the Executive Council. There are 5 sub-programs supporting this program, and there are Premier support, Executive Council support, DG support, financial management, and intergovernmental relations. The sub-program Premier support has been allocated a budget of 31,024,000. Executive Council support has been allocated a budget of 9,325,000. The sub-program, which is the Director General support, has been allocated a budget of 21,815,000. The financial management support has been allocated a budget of 109,772,000. This is meant to provide sound financial management and advisory services, as well as auxiliary services for the entire department. The intergovernmental relations sub-program has been allocated a budget of 21,490,000 to coordinate the programs that relate to intergovernmental relations, but also international relations and cooperations, including training programs which include the following: Myland Training Agreement, Fusion Training Agreement, review of Kinshasa Training Agreement, as the provincial government will be undertaking a visit to DRC this year. The province maintains very close relations with all embassies and consular offices with a view of building relations with the rest of the world as a basis for trade and investment. Recently, the Provincial Executive Council approved the International Relations Strategy and the Official Development Assistance Strategy. Honorable Speaker, Program 2, which is institutional development, is allocated 398,490,000. The purpose of this program is to improve service delivery through institutional capacity building and pursuing transformation agenda in the province. The program comprises of the following sub-program: strategic human resources, legal services, information communication technology, communication services, special program, forensic investigations, and integrity management. Sub-program strategic human resource is allocated 103,873,000. The function is to coordinate and monitor the customization, development and implementation of human resource policies, systems, programs and plans for the province. The employee health and wellness unit was at the center of coordinating provincial interface as we confront the scourge of COVID-19 and ensuring the health and wellness of employees. Sub-program Information Communication Technology allocated 83 million, and the advent of COVID-19 has forced the government to come up with a new and a unique intervention in order to continue with services and communicate with citizens and stakeholders, thus making the digital transformation and ICT a critical platform. As we continue to navigate with this, we have been working closely with Microsoft, and I'm sure most of you can confirm that even during the COVID-19 lockdown, we didn't stop functioning. We continued to work through the services of ICT. The OTP supported development of digitalization in the province, and we will be implementing this partnership based on the following foundational pillars. 1, platforms and systems investment coordination, consolidation, capacity development partnership, one smart provincial platform, which is open development platform. Migration to a capable cloud with artificial intelligence, business intelligence, Internet of Things has been a focus in the repositioning of the nerve center in the province. This has also required that we dedicate clear focus on automation of e-leave, e-submission compliance, DG tracking, war room app, and bursary management. Implementation of phase 2 of the Premier hotline, e-submission, digital skills. In 2022, the Office of the Premier will review the government-wide enterprise architecture strategy to ensure the automation of the departmental systems, including innovatives such as e-leave system and all others as mentioned. As indicated, this program is allocated 88 million to ensure that all of these services are carried through. Honorable Speaker, sub-program legal services is allocated 12,371,000 to coordinate the continuous review and amendment of legislations to give effect to changing circumstances and to correctly reflect shift in or function the policies that are implemented by the government. The next sub-program is communication services, which is allocated 73 million. Communication is responsible for sustaining and enhancing the three principal elements of government, which is responsiveness, effectiveness, and accountability. It assists in the creation of an empowered citizenry by providing a timely two-way communication channel between government and citizens. The program was at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19 pandemic by providing timely health and safety information to the people of KwaZulu-Natal. It also helped to support government responding to the July unrest that erupted last year. The sub-program on special programs is allocated 85,926,000. Under this program, we can report that the Human Rights Awareness Program was rolled out in 80% of the district and local municipalities. The Disability Access Audit was successfully implemented in the 5 district municipalities. The Centenarian Program was realized in the 6th district. The coordination of the program through Operation Sukuma Sake yielded results where the MEC champion honored the centenarians in various districts. We can also confirm that we continue to work with the senior citizenry in all challenges facing them to ensure that they live healthy and protected, including dealing with the challenge where old people are killed and victimized for various reasons. They participate in various programs, including Golden Games for older persons, and they continue to make us proud. Honorable Speaker, the KZN Youth Empowerment Fund was established in 2018-19 to support youth business. The first tranche was 50 million, which was allocated, and the second was also was suspended in 2021-2022 due to COVID-19. We wish to report to this House that for this financial year, working together with relevant departments, we are going to take this youth fund from 50 million, which was in 2019. Now it is going to be 100 million in 2022. The sub-program Forensic Investigation and Integrity Management is allocated 35,170,000, and this program is responsible for undertaking forensic investigation services as well as integrity management services for all departments. As you are aware, on the 1st of August 2020, the Forensic Investigation Unit was transferred from the Treasury to the Office of the Premier and placed under the Institutional Development and Integrity. The unit completed 15 investigations and conducted 28 follow-ups to track the status of implementation of the recommendations arising from Forensic Investigation Report. Through the Forensic Audit Unit, OTP has intensified the fight against fraud and corruption and undertook the following initiative: worked closely with the Anti-Corruption Task Team, National Prosecuting Authority, the South African Police Services, Fusion Center, Specialized Commercial Crime Unit, and Asset Forfeiture Unit to assist in fighting criminal investigations. OTP continues to monitor the implementation by accounting officers of recommendations contained in forensic report. Program 3, which is policy and development, focuses on initiating the provincial-wide development and implementation of strategies and policies to achieve a coordinated approach towards sustainable provincial growth and development. It is allocated 175,635,000. The sub-programs of this program are Provincial Policy Management, Premier's Priority Program, and the Royal Household. The sub-program on Provincial Policy Management is allocated 36,974,000 to ensure that they continue to initiate, facilitate, provide support, and coordinate implementation, as well as monitor and evaluate provincial policies and plans. These also include supporting the work that is done by the Provincial Planning Commission as well as making recommendations to the provincial executive on the long-term strategic development perspective for the province. The Executive Council adopted the KZN midterm or medium-term strategic framework implementation plan for 2021-2022 as amended due to cluster contributions given that we were affected by COVID-19. Honorable Speaker, the provincial growth and development strategy remain our compass to achieve inclusive growth through our vision 2030. Working with the Planning Commission, we continue to monitor and facilitate alignment of provincial plans, policies, and implementation instruments, as well as coordination with national priority programs is allocated 71,345,000. It is focusing on Operation Sukuma Sake, especially to support war rooms. We are also in a process of integrating OSS with the district development model, and we have revitalized strategies, including the OSS handbook, OSS strategy, capacity and COVID-19 safety plans of OSS war rooms. Honorable Speaker, through the Inkululeko Development Project, OTP is leading the implementation of an integrated multi-purpose and multi-sectoral development project in strategic nodes, such as the one of Indumo. The rural development strategy is targeted toward the improvement in the quality of education, health, sustainable livelihood, job creation, quality of life, as well as facilitating the creation of dignified communities. We aim to deliver safety, secured, high-quality service delivery. The focus for 2022-2023 will be to ensure that these projects that are not complete are successfully implemented and completed. Royal Household is allocated 67,316,000 to support the necessary work that is led by His Majesty the King. This includes activities hosted by the Royal House, which are annual traditional and cultural events, including the King Dinizulu Prayer Day, the Royal Reed Dance, the First Fruit Ceremony, Umkhosi Woselwa, Amaganu, Umkhosi Wesivivane, Ukhonza by the Makanya clan. The king will also perform his role of installing Amakhosi in terms of our traditional custom. The OTP is forging ahead with major maintenance projects, which include the erection of new security fences and providing adequate security support at all royal palaces. Honorable Chair, in the current financial year, as I indicated, an amount of 67,316,000 is budgeted for the royal household programs, including supporting the work of the Zulu Royal Household Trust. Honorable Speaker, finally, our revenue, which mainly comprises of revenue from commission on PESAL, deductions such as insurance premium and garnish orders, is budgeted at 1,462,000. Building a capable, ethical, and developmental state is one of the priorities of our government. We seek to ensure that the state drive the collaboration of all social stakeholders to effect fundamental socio-economic transformation. We want to ensure that citizens play a bigger role in driving the vision of a better KwaZulu-Natal. This exercise of budgeting is not only merely to allocate the resources for government program, but is to build a culture also of monitoring and evaluation which ensure every cent is used properly and responsibly. Honorable Speaker, I wish to take this opportunity to thank the Director General, Dr. Nonhlanhla Mkhize, advisors to the Premier, the staff of the Office of the Premier for their continuous commitment and dedication. A word of appreciation goes to members of the Executive Council for their guidance and support at all times, the Legislature, but in particular, the Portfolio Committee on the Office of the Premier, the Chairperson, Honorable Madlopa, and I wish her speedy recovery. The recent storms and floods provide a unique opportunity for all of us to make Ubuntu, human solidarity, and collaboration as the new spirit and culture of our province. Let us seize the day as the province and unite behind the goal of building safer, dignified, and prosperous communities that are more adequate and resilient to future storms and disasters. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby formally table before this August House Vote 1, Office of the Premier, with a budget of 767,551,000 for the 2022-2023 financial year. I thank you, Honorable Chair. Right on time.
Thank you so much, Honorable Premier Kuzeni, and for your diligence. It's true that your timing was excellent. We just have to just mention that because it's part of professionalism, it's part of dedication, even understanding your core content. We want to thank you. Then in the debate, report on behalf of the Chairperson of Premier, as I've already mentioned, that Honorable Madlopa couldn't be with us. We are giving the platform to Honorable MPP Zungu Manzini for 10 minutes, giving us the report.
Honorable Chairperson, the Honorable Premier and his Executive Council, and the esteemed members of this August House, it is a privilege for me to table the committee report on the Office of the Premier's budget, which briefly outlines the deliberations on the 2022-23 APP and budget of the Office of the Premier. It is a welcome opportunity for us in the Premier's Portfolio Committee to participate in the debate of the Office of the Premier's budget policy statement presented to the House today by the Honorable Premier. The areas covered in the report by the Honorable Premier are the ones in which the committee has keen interest. The committee met with the Office of the Premier in several meetings for the first draft of the final draft APP and budget. The meeting to consider the final draft of 22 and 23 annual performance plan and budget was held on the 15th of March 2022. For the Portfolio Committee on Premier to get succinct understanding on these two documents, the committee noted and satisfied itself that indeed the department has considered and aligned its 2022 and 23 APP to the 2030 National Development Plan, 2019 to 24 Medium-Term Strategic Framework, 2024 to 25 KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Growth and Development Plan, and the 7 priorities of the 6th administration as outlined also in the MTSF document. Once again, in the current 2022 and 23 budget year under tabling, the Portfolio Committee has noted with keen interest the outcomes of the department that have remained unchanged as follows, being outcome 1, improved government and accountability, outcome 2, with improved coordination, integration, and efficiency in government, outcome 3, inclusive stakeholders, engagement, and improved partnerships, and outcome 4 being the professional and ethical provincial administration. On 2022 and 23 budget overview, the committee has noted that the Office of the Premier's budget is anticipated to decrease from a 2021-22 main appropriation amount of 802.2 million to a budget amount of 767.5 million for the 2022 and 23 MTEF. The committee has observed that the decrease in this department budget from 2021 to 22 main appropriation to 2022-23 MTEF is influenced by the non-allocation of 50 million in the 2022 and 3 MTF. I'm sorry. Yes, yes, okay, it's fine. The 50 million allocation is in respect of the KZN Youth Empowerment Fund, which was established in 2018 and 19 to support the fund youth business. This is a very important program of the department and is close to the heart of the Portfolio Committee on the Premier. The committee learned during the meeting that the department was yet to utilize the 50 million for this program, which was allocated in the 2021 and 2022 financial year. The committee expressed a concern that this money had, at the time of the budget consideration meeting, not yet been utilized. However, the committee was given reasons for the delay for the department, which included the large volume of applications, being more than 4,000 applications that had been received by the Premier, which needed to be processed by the department. The committee was also taken into confidence that the non-allocation towards the Youth Empowerment Fund of 2022 and 23 MTEF is in no way signaling the program was now defunct. This especially after the Honorable Premier made pronouncement in his State of the Province address this year on the 24th of February, that this program will continue with an amount of 100 million in 2022 and 3 financial year. The department informed the committee that this program will receive its allocation when the 2022 and 3 adjustment budget gets tabled by the Provincial Treasury around mid-year. The committee is pleased that the Office of the Premier is in the process of strengthening the functionality of Operation Sukumasake structures and to further reinvigorate its campaign ensuring the effectiveness and functioning of the structures and participation of the departments, especially in municipalities. The committee remains committed to giving the full support to the Office of the Premier in ensuring that it fulfills its primary mandate as stipulated in the annual performance plan. To this end, the committee welcomes the amount of 2 million for the district champions of OSS and DDM responsibilities. It has always been of concern for the committee that war rooms were not receiving any financial support. We therefore appreciate this specifically and exclusively appropriate funding. As little as it is, but it is something considering the financial situation that we face as a country. The committee will be playing financial and non-financial oversight role over the financial allocation of 767.5 million as follows. For Program 1 on administration, to a budget that is amounted to 193.4 million, which the department has indicated to cater for social cohesion and moral regeneration program events and effective management and administration of the department, amongst others. We feel that it caters for the filling of the 4 critical posts in 2022 and 3 financial year is also important to be done. For program 2, institutional development, to a budget amount of 393.4 million, which the department has indicated will cater for shifting of forensic investigation services from Vote 6, Provincial Treasury, accompanied by the centralization of the ICT function to this program, amongst others. Moreover, it caters for the filling of 8 critical vacant posts in financial year 2022 and 3. On program 3, police and governance, to a budget of amount of 175.6 million, which the department has indicated it will cater for the management of strategic projects, transfers to Rural Household Trusts to an amount of 24.8 million for the provision of administration, maintenance, and management of the assets of the ZRHT, including the royal palaces and farms in terms of KZN ZRHT Act of 2019, amongst others. Moreover, it caters for the filling of 6 vacant posts for the financial year 2022 and 3. Honorable Chair, in playing its financial and non-financial oversight over the above allocated 767.5 million budgeting, sitting that the committee in turn continues to desire to ask the Office of the Premier to be leading example to other departments in achieving clean audit outcomes. This will be through the committee focusing vigorously on how the department spends its vote funds throughout the 22 and 23 MTEF. The committee has emphasized once again that it will not accept any underspending and overspending by the department. Also, as part of the oversight, the committee will also closely track the progress and implementation of the finance scorecard resolution this year. It will, through utilization of the resolution tracking mechanism as per the sector oversight model. Our observation as a committee during the engagement with the Office of the Premier, the committee wishes to highlight the following areas of concern that arose. The committee has noted that the Zulu Royal Household Trust has a fundraising program within its activities. The committee has always raised a concern that little was being done by the trust to accelerate revenue generation strategy within the fundraising program. The committee was informed that more effort is being made to intensify the revenue generation strategy to assist the trust to get so that it will be able to fulfill one of its functions for which it was established. The committee will further monitor the strategy once it has commenced. As mentioned above, the committee will consider the budget, and all members of the committee and all parties supported the 2022 and 3 budget as tabled, with emphasis that Youth Empowerment Fund receives its allocation mid-year during the 2022 and 23 financial budget adjustment tabling. I'd like to thank you, House Chair.
Thank you so much, Kwabini, for that. The opening of the debate is done from the ANC, RZP Zulu, for 9 minutes. Makeba, the platform is yours.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier of our province, Tabisa, members of the Legislature, Siyabingelela Ekseni. Honorable members, let me first extend my deepest gratitude to the People's Liberation Movement, the ANC, for trusting us with the responsibility to represent it in the debate as we debate the Vote 1 2022-2023 budget. Honorable Premier, We congratulate you and your department for successfully tabling a budget, which is an expression of the commitments made during the SOPA. You tabled this budget despite the challenges in the national fiscus and the global economic downturn exacerbated by Russia's military operations against the Ukraine, which is on its own has affected the supply of key commodities across the globe. We are, however, as a province, jubilant that you have navigated through these muddy waters to provide yet another inspiring budgetary plans. As members of this august house, we perceive and receive this budget as an instrument to realize the pledges made in your SOPA to turn the economic fortunes of this province. Honorable Premier, it will be inhuman of us not to consider that your budget speech comes at a time when the province is still reeling from the devastation of the floods on households, on our infrastructure, on the livelihoods of the millions of our people in the province, most severely to the families who lost their loved ones. We are also aware that your department has been at the forefront in cushioning the blow of this devastation. I shall expatiate on this further in my debate at a later stage. We therefore join you to wholeheartedly extend our deepest heartfelt condolences to the families. A reduction in budget. Honorable members, we have noted with concern the reduction of the budget, which appears thus far to have been consistent across the board from 802 million in the past financial year to 767 million in the current financial year, amounting to a 5% budget cut. Regardless of how it may appear insignificant statistically, however, it remains an undesirable development where the 22 inflation rate is expected to be at 8%. It is generally a widely considered view that a caring government will incorporate amends to offset the impacts on inflation on its ability to deliver services. KZN Youth Empowerment Fund 2022-2023, not part by part, additional 50 million. The budget was finalized before the SOPA in January. We note and welcome the report of 50 million allocation to the KZN Youth Empowerment Fund. Despite the budgetary setbacks, we also note the volume of applications to the tune of 4,000 as a reflection of entrepreneurial drive and proves among our youth. We are aware that, Honorable Premier, that you have gave the people and youth of KwaZulu-Natal your word that your department will allocate 100 million towards the KZN Youth Fund. We appreciate the report to committee that the current 50 million budget is planned to be augmented after the mid-year adjustment by additional 50 million. Honorable Premier, we have failed in our oversight responsibility if we do not tie you down to this commitment. This reinforcement will be critical to investigate given the said volume of applications. The age to relegate youth empowerment is to the periphery, divorced from overall economic growth programs is over and historically unfortunate. This must and should come to an end in a province where more than 83,000 people joined the unemployment queue, according to the last report of the labor force survey. Among these, the majority being youth. We therefore make a resounding call to the department to expedite the processing of the totality of applications as indicated to ensure the funds are fully and unapologetically spent. On Operation Sukumasak, in terms of the OSS, the conceptualization, implementation, and effectivity of OSS remains a cornerstone in the province's program to expedite service delivery. We note the allocation of the 2 million to district champions. However, the committee adopted a report last year which outlined challenges with the program and recommendations. Thereafter, which among many was a lack of commitment to the program by the sector, departments, and municipal officials. We have not been appeased as to how the department is dealing with and addressing such issues. The effective of OSS has a far-reaching impact on service delivery and only needs us to get it right. Intervention on the recent floods, as expressed in the beginning, the devastating impact on the recent floods cannot be overstated. Honorable Premier, we thank you for being visible and at the forefront in the efforts to assist affected communities. We also thank opposition parties who have been able to rally behind you and demonstrate a joint commitment of Ubuntu and be party to your efforts, including the mobilization of various stakeholders across society to heed the humanitarian call sounding from the hilltop of your office. These efforts include the integration of all departments to provide the relief to victims and affected sectors. The coordination of the disaster monitoring task team, the monitoring center for rapid response in conjunction with funeral parlors where affected families were assisted to plan and bury their loved ones. We are aware that those through the initiatives of plans, families buried their loved one, and the ANC-led government has been in the forefront in mobilizing and assisting the bereaved families. Honorable Premier, understaffing on the forensic unit. Since the incorporation of the forensic units from the Treasury, the unit has worryingly continued to be understaffed. We are, however, welcome the filling for 2 directors, but obviously there are still that need to be filled. While this is commendable, we hope that the department will expedite the hiring process and use the 389 million to cater for the shift of forensic investigation services to realize a full-fledged and fully functional unit in no time, as this is already overdue, including the centralization of ICT functions. Honorable Premier, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I consider the fact that we are in May, which is universally dubbed Africa Month. Hence, I cannot help but reminisce and borrow the words of Africa's dearest son, the founder of the Kenya's independence, a revolutionary and a statesman, Jomo Kenyatta, who coined the doctrine Harambe, which means pulling together. Where he emphasizes and call all his countrymen beyond the ethnic, classic, and ideological differences, that our children may learn about the heroes of the past. But our task is to make ourselves architects of the future. The beauty of these words is that the next generation will hold us collectively accountable beyond party lines about the future we have built for them. Let us rally behind the culture of good governance, accountability, and effective public service for the sake of our generations to come. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Thulis Kandaba. The next member to partake in the debate from IFP for 4 minutes, Honorable MP Kuala. The platform is yours.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Premier and members, our position as the IFP is that we believe in constructive criticism, not cheap politicking and point scoring. We are not opposing the government just for the sake of opposition. We oppose the government's wrong policies affecting the common man. We give credit where credit is due. We criticize when it is necessary. When we support the budget, we do it without any reservation. And if we oppose it with a concern. The IFP does not behave like other political lunatics in this house who play a man, not the ball. We only deal with the issues, not character assassination. The budget that has been presented by the Honorable Premier
seems to be enticing. However, the problems begin when the projects are to be implemented. There is a lack of project monitoring. Many projects that have failed were introduced with the aim of developing people and taking them out of poverty, yet have now turned into white elephants. For example, the Luamba project, a multi-million rand project that was introduced in Tambanana. Further, an incomplete multi-million rand fresh produce tunnel project was abandoned in Mapumulo. The project, which was launched in 2020, was left incomplete after an investment of about 8 million. As we gather here today, no one has been held responsible for the failure of these projects. We have also been kept in the dark about the imposition of consequence management to those implicated in alleged corruption with regard to the funeral of the Nazareth Baptist Church leader, Vela Shembe. Therefore, there must be consequences for incompetence on the part of officials and contractors. The culture of embezzling public funds must stop. Lastly, Honorable Chair, the IFP has noted that lately the Office of the Premier has engaged in some shenanigans that cannot go unchallenged. I want to call on the Premier to tell this House whether it denies or confirms that according to the minutes of a meeting between Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, the Office of the Premier and the Royal House of Trust, one Mbonisi Zulu was about to sign a 30-year farm lease agreement with Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. What process was followed to come to that conclusion? Is this Prince Mbonisi Zulu acted as a king for 10 minutes after the demise of the late king? Is the same person who is earning 25,000 rand a month from the Royal House of Trust? Is this Prince Mbonisi Zulu who is employed by COGTA as a research specialist, person number 635212202, earning 600,000 rand a year? Was the appointment in accordance with the Labour Relations Act? Was the post advertised? Is Prince Mbonisi Zulu qualified enough to be appointed as a research specialist? Who are the other candidates that applied for the same job? Why the other candidates were disqualified? What are the responsibilities for Prince Mbonisi Zulu as a research specialist? How true is that the driver of the vehicle for Queen Mazungu that was involved in an accident was not a right person to be behind a steering wheel, and that the vehicle was not insured? I direct these questions to you because the buck stops at your doorstep as the captain of the ship, Honorable Premier. The IFP believe that in the interest of transparency, it is incumbent upon the Honorable Premier to come out of the shadows and clarify these issues as they dwarf his office. The Premier must remove the veil of secrecy. I thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Mpepeto. The next member to partake in the debate is from the DA is Honorable ZM Mwanga for 8 minutes. Wangazita, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would firstly like to wish our Chairperson, Oron Madlopa, a speedy recovery, and uNkulunkulu abe naye asheshe alulame. I thought umhlonishwa uzowachaza ukuthi obani la malona sikakhuluma ngawo. Useyabale akachazile. Honorable Chairperson, there is no doubt that like all departments in KZN, the Premier will have significant challenges in trying to make the most effective use of 767 million his department is charged with managing. Honorable Premier, I won't discuss anything about water tankers today. Honorable Chairperson, we note non-allocation of 50 million rand in respect to KZN Youth Empowerment Fund, which was established 3 years ago to support and fund youth businesses. The Portfolio Committee has visited some beneficiaries in the past and witnessed how this funding assists small privileged youth of this province. It is therefore concerning that this fund is not budgeted now. This is despite the Premier making commitment of 100 million towards Youth Empowerment Fund during SOPA early this year. The big question, where did the Premier get this figure of 100 million without assurance from Treasurer? Even today, Honourable Speaker, the Premier still make a commitment of 100 million rand on this budget. But as we discuss this budget, there is no allocation of 100 million on this tabled budget today. It's also noted that even last discussion within Treasury, they made it clear that they have not yet budgeted this 100 million, and they're still going to look where they can find money. So it's very strange that the Premier can come today again and commit to this 100 million. So Mlomo, kuyadida nokho ukuthi uNdunankulu angavele azokwenza izithembiso noma akhohlise abantu abasha ngesikhathi bedinga uxhaso lokufukula amabhizinisi. Kanti ubani ohola isifundazwe? Kanti kusuke kwenziwani kule hotla uma nizobuye nidideke, Honorable Premier? Honorable Chairperson, the Premier has 4 main outcomes, but the big question is whether this budget is not enough to help the Premier in achieving these outcomes, or the Premier will fail regardless of the amount budgeted. Honorable Chairperson, we have KZN Royal House Trust under the watch of the Premier. You can go back on their last 5 years report. They always talk about the revenue strategy, but even today, there is no strategy. You ask yourself, where is the strategy and why the Premier has failed to ensure that this entity fulfill its commitment in order to ensure that our monarchy is financially sustainable and independent. Ukungabikho kohlelo lokuthi iKZN Royal House Trust iziqoqele izimali kwenza isimo esingesihle sokuthi indlunkulu incikisele osopolitiki abaziyo ukuthi basemandleni. Isikhathi sokuthi indlunkulu izimele sifikile nokuthi isilo esisha sithole uxhaso kuhulumeni ngaphandle kokuncikiselwa ngosopolitiki. A lot is going on under the Premier. We have been asking questions about the farm given to one member of Royal House and the same person who is a board member of the trust. How this happened? Umhlonishwa also referred to this person. We saw not long ago the Premier playing politics with the monarchy when his department was purchasing vehicles for the Queens. In March 2021, the Office of the Premier approved the request and allocated 5.1 million to the trust towards purchasing of 7 vehicles for the Queens. The issue of the vehicles was discussed even after the demise of the late Queen, and the Portfolio Committee was assured that the 7 vehicles of the late Queen was already ordered. Honorable Premier must do honorable thing, apologize for misleading the public, and take full accountability of this mess. I won't say the Premier lied because I respect him. The 4th outcome of the Premier department talks about professionalism and ethics. You need to lead by example. During the handover of the ceremony, the Honorable Premier told the media that all vehicles costed less than 800,000, which was far from the truth. Akulona icala ukuthi angazi uma ungazi, akekho nje umuntu ongebe ngasola uNdunankulu uma avele athi akazi noma akanaso isiqiniseko. It was really embarrassing to see the Premier becoming emotionally while trying to spin everything after he was exposed that he actually lied about the price of the 5 vehicles that worth more than R1 million each. The Premier tried to even say the amount excluded VAT, as if people of this province are naive. Shame on you, Honorable Premier. Unfortunately, it didn't work, Honorable Premier. Whoever advised you with such a spin misled you further and caused more embarrassment. The Provincial Treasurer has highlighted the possible irregular expenditure, while Honorable Premier still maintained everything was above board. Can you, Honorable Premier, today, before this House, please commit that you will resign as a Premier if Treasurer or Auditor General prove that indeed that there was irregular expenditure incurred during the purchase of the Queen's vehicles? It is about accountability. You will be more respected if you do so. Honorable Chairperson, it was strange that Honorable Duma yesterday praised the Premier in handling the coronation processes and the budget for it. It is strange because the Premier has not taken the Portfolio Committee into confidence on the process and the project of coronation. The coronation will be without a doubt one of the biggest events this government has ever funded in Ndlunkulu, and We don't want anyone to try and damage the image of our monarchy by stealing the funds during this process. We can't simply ignore the fact that some have been even used funerals to steal public funds and always try to emotionally blackmail anyone questioning the expenditure. I'm today reminded that when some of us questioned the expenditure of the late leader of Washembe, we were called by names and emotionally blackmailed, but later an investigation proved us right. The funeral of the king and the queen costed this government more than 4 million rand, and they are questionable expenditures. But the moment you ask questions, some say, how can you question the funeral of the king? Honorable Premier, do you even know that some prices were negotiated with service providers after the service were rendered? Can you call that good governance? The DA does not believe the Premier has done enough to improve governance and accountability ever since he took over as a Premier. Typical example that quickly come to mind is the time this government takes in doing forensic investigation and lack of transparency when these investigations are done. We had even yesterday the difficulty that Honorable Rogers had to access a report from you, Honorable Premier. The big question that you must ask yourself, why are you hiding these reports? We need to know as to why, Honorable Premier, you are hiding these reports. If you are serious about accountability, you must be transparent to this province. Thank you.
Ushilo umhlonishwa ugwala wathi kunama-lunatics.
Thank you, Honorable Nwango. The next member to partake in the debate is Honorable A.V. Khoza. We had 6 minutes, but we have since received his apology. He's not going to be partaking. Then the next member to partake in the debate is Honorable from the NFP, Honorable C.M. Shinga for 2 minutes. Ndelu, the platform is yours. Let's engage honorable members, but don't drown the speaker on the podium. If you can just try to maintain the decorum of the House.
I've been told I can make use of the forfeited 6 minutes.
I don't know how I wish.
Honorable members, distinguished guests. Honorable Premier, the KZN Youth Empowerment Fund received a total of 3,675 applications. This should be the indication that there are many young entrepreneurs in the province who long for a helping hand to start their businesses and implement their ideas. Apart from the 20 million on the 20 million the fund received from ATIA, we want to see more funds injected to this fund to help young entrepreneurs out there and create more job opportunities, not only for young people, but for the KZN citizens. Honorable Premier, the contract between your office and the National Skills Fund ended in March 2020, and no further training programs, no new funding is anticipated over the 2022-2023 MTF. We call upon your office to reconsider this agreement and funding of this program. We need to utilize every program available to combat and fight the issue of youth unemployment. We have seen in many cases that human rights are being violated to the extent of killing people with albinism. And we note that the human rights awareness programs, as per your report, Honorable Premier, were rolled out in about 70-80% of the districts of the province, which excluded other big districts like Umgungundlovu, Yoheri, Gwala. Honorable Premier, community outreach programs need to be implemented in all districts and their respective local municipalities. It is essential that programs like community engagement, dialogue, generational programs are implemented all over KZN to guarantee the awareness of the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shigumkulu, for that. The next member to partake in the debate from the ANC, Honorable MPP Zungu, now coming as partaking in the debate for 9 minutes. Manzin. Honorable Zungu. And the House is without a chief whip as well, and not deputy chief whip. Thanks, Honorable Manzini. The platform is yours. It's your day today, presenting and debating at the same time.
Ngiyabonga Hlalo.
Let's maintain the decorum, honorable members. Let us not drown the speaker on the podium, please.
Sihlalo nendlu yakhe ehloniphekile. Ngivumele ngibonge leli thuba engilinikwe inhlangano yabantu ukhongolose ukuba ngibe ingxenye yenkulumo mpikiswano ngesabelo mali sehhovisi kaNdunankulu sonyaka mali ka-22 and 23. Siyabonga ndunankulu ohloniphekile uMnumzane Zikalala osethule le nkulumo yesabelo ewumhlahlandlela okuzosetshenzwa ngawo kulonyaka wezimali esiuqale ngenyanga kaMbasa. Sihlalo uma sibheka isabelo mali somnyango kaNdunankulu kuyabonakala ukuthi uhlelo lwesibili yilona olunikwe ingxenye enkulu kunezinye izinhlelo. Lokhu kungenxa yokuthi mkhulu futhi umqoka kakhulu umsebenzi owenziwa ngaphansi kwalolu hlelo. Njengoba phela luyisizinda sokuthuthukisa umfutho wokusiza kwezinsiza emphakathini ngokulola nokuqeqesha. Ngaphansi kwalolu hlelo siphinde sithole isabelo mali sokuthuthukiswa kwezobuchwepheshe besimanje. Umuntu ngeke akugcizelele ukubaluleka kwalomkhakha ukusebenza ngoba isikhathi esingangeminyaka emibili esedlule sifunde ebume ukuthi sisebenzise ubuchwepheshe ngenxa yokufika kwesifo sobhubhane lokhuvethe. Ngakho-ke lolu hlelo luwumlalazi wokulola ubuchwepheshe ukuze iminyango kahulumeni iqhubeke nokukwazi ukuqhuba imisebenzi noma kukhona izifo ezingamagciwane angasivumeli ukuba sihlanganyele ndawonye kumbe linye. Njengoba ihhovisi likaNdunankulu kuyilona elumdidiyeli wemisebenzi kahulumeni wesifundazwe, lokhu kusho ukuthi kubalulekile ukuba kuqiniswe ezokuxhumana ngalesi samba esiyizigidi ezingama-73. Lokhu kusiza uNdunankulu ukuba ukwazi ukuxhumana nokwazisa umphakathi wesifundazwe lapho kuba khona izinkinga ezihaqa isifundazwe, njengoba sisuka esimeni esibi lapho kubhujwe khona ngenxa yezikhukhula. Ezokuxhumana ezikhathini ezinjengalezi zisiza ngoba uhulumeni ayazise umphakathi ngezinsiza ezisuke zikhona nehlinzekwele wona. Ngiyafisa ukubalula ukuthi nakuba lesi sabelo mali sethulwa ngaphansi kwezimo ezinzima ingekho imali, kodwa kuhle ukuthi zikhona izikhala ezizogcwaliswa. Besingathanda ukubona izikhala zemisebenzi zigcwaliswa zonke ehhovisi likaNdunankulu. Kepha kuphoxa sona isimo sezimali engekho. Ikakhulukazi besingathanda ukubona kubhekelelwa kakhulukazi abantu besifazane ekugcwaliseni kwezikhala ezimqoka, ngoba ukuqwasha kwabo kubonakala kusasilele emuva. Kanjalo nokuqasha kwabantu abakhubazekile. Ngokwezibalo zokuqasheka kwabantu besifazane emhlabeni nje mangathi jikelele emhlabeni jikelele zikhomba ukuthi iqhaza labo lesami ema-47 ngokwamaphesenti uma kuqhathaniswa nabesilisa ababalelwa ema-72 samaphesenti. Lokhu kukhombisa igebe lamaphesenti angama-25. Abantu besifazane abafuna imisebenzi bakuthola kunzima ukuthola imisebenzi kunabesilisa. Ngonyaka ka-2021 izibalo zazikhomba ukuthi Ukuqasheka kwabantu abakhubazekile kumi eshumini nesishiyagalolunye bese kuba nenhlesezana encane ka-1 oku-19.1%. Lokhu kuyakhombisa ukuthi iminyango efana nehhovisi likaNdunankulu lisahlale lo msebenzi onzima ukulungisa lo monakalo ukuze kuvaleke leli gebe. Angithi phela siphila esikhathini lapho sithi khona wonke umuntu unelungelo, futhi kufanele wonke umuntu athole isidima ngendlela aphatheka noma azizwa ephatheke ngalo. Mhlonishwa Ndunankulu, abantu balapha KwaZulu-Natal babheke wena, babuka wena emehlweni ngqo. Hhayi wena siqu njengomuntu, kodwa ngokwehhovisi nangokomsebenzi owuphathisiwe. Nanxa kunezimo ezibagulubuzele, bahlale bazi ukuthi uzophamuka, uzoba sengatha. Ngeke-ke singakubaluli ukuthi sikubonile ushabasheka uhola isigungu sakho sikahulumeni uqashise emphakathi. Ngesikhathi nje masinokhuvethe uNdunankulu ubonakele nesigungu sakhe eqwashisa imiphakathi. Kanjalo futhi saphinde sakubona nangesikhathi kunzima ngenyanga kaNtulukazi nyakenye, la okuyinyanga esingasoze sayikhohlwa ezweni lakithi, lapho bekunombhikisho esingayithatha ngokuthi idicelele phansi kakhulu ingqalasizinda eningi, ikakhulukazi uma ngabe kuziwa kulabo abasebenza ukuhweba. Amabhizinisi amaningi a-affecteka noma ashayeka ngenxa yaleso sehlo sikaNtulukazi. Nalapho awuzange uqashe, kepha wabonakala emphakathini ninesigungu sakho nikhuza umhlolo. Namanje futhi siyakubona, sikubonile njengoba sihlaselwe ilezi ikhukhula. Uhambisa nosizo oluhlobohlobo, uhambisana futhi nabanye abathintekayo uma ngabe kuwukuthi kukhona izinto ey'nantesigazi ezehlela izizwe namazwe kanjalo. Nathi sisifundazwe sikubonile usebenza. Sithi-ke Khuzeni, asikubonge okwenzayo thina njengokhongolose. Uyabasebenzela abantu balesi sifundazwe futhi usazoqhubeka ubasebenzele. Ngingakophothuli nje isihlalo, ngaphansi kwalolu hlelo lwesibili lwehhovisi likaNdunankulu kukhona nohlelo lokulekelelwa kwamabhizinisi entsha. Ngabe angiwenzanga umsebenzi wami lapha endlini uma ngingakhulumanga ngalolu hlelo. Lolu uhlelo lumqoka kakhulu futhi esizibonele ngawethu ukuthi luyisiza kangakanani intsha yakithi. Saze savumelana sonke ngwazilinye ukuthi lolu hlelo luhle kakhulu futhi sisazoqhubeka nokulandela silubheke njengekomiti. Sinethemba lokuthi luzophinda luhlinzekele lolu hlelo ngenkathi sekwethulwa isabelomali esihlelenjiwe maphakathi nonyaka ngokuxoxisana kwehhovisi lakho Ndunankulu kanye nomnyango kaMgcini Mafa esifundazweni. Siyikomiti sibonile uNdunankulu usebenza ngokuzikhandla kanye nabasebenzi behhovisi lakho kunakekela isifundazwe. Ngakho-ke siyakukhuthaza ukuthi uqhubeke njalo ungapheli amandla. Siwukhongolose futhi siyayeseka lesi sabelomali sehhovisi likaNdunankulu noma sibona ukuthi asenele, kodwa sinethemba lokuthi inamhlanje alifani nezolo, kanjalo nekusasa liyobe lingcono kunanamuhla. Ngiyabonga sihlalo hloniphekile.
Thank you so much, Kwabini, for that. The next member to partake in this debate from Minority Front, Honorable Esther Rajpans, for 2 minutes. Honorable Rajpans, the platform is yours.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier. The MF thanks your office for well-run sectoral parliaments, encouraging citizens and stakeholder engagement. The MF is pleased about the cordial relationship of the Office of the Premier with His Majesty. This signals great enthusiasm in KZN. Honourable members, OTP must apply strategic growth interventions for small town rehabilitation like Escort, Dundee, Danhauser, similar to the previous cold room revitalization programs. In terms of social cohesion and nation building, the building of the monument to commemorate the arrival of indentured Indians from the 1860s to 1911 has not been accomplished. When will this monument be completed, as the 16th of November is around the corner Honourable Premier. Once a commitment is given to honour ancestors, customarily, such a promise must be honoured. Indentured Indians have saved KZN from bankruptcy, and the day this monument is erected in eThekwini and paid homage to by tourists and our leaders will remark the rise of KZN again. Honourable Premier, the Youth Empowerment Fund, in the light of the 35% unemployment rate, is a critical choice for beneficiaries across all race groups. For honourable members to believe in this policy concept of job creation, it is important for a separate written document outlining the policy content, inputs, activities, and intended policy outputs. It is critical that we must have established outcomes with indicators. Only these can determine determinants of expenditure, distribution patterns, targeting deserving beneficiaries. Honourable Premier, the Youth Empowerment Fund must take lessons from the KZN Growth Fund, where such specific intention policies requires reliable data for program evaluation. This Honourable House places high value on this Youth Empowerment Fund, but our oversight can promote policy advocacy. Essentially, annually, this Honourable House requires a cost-benefit analysis of this fund. The MF takes this opportunity to thank communities of various faiths in KZN who have rallied to assist our government to bring relief to citizens in our flood-ravaged areas. The MF supports the OTP budget with these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Rashbans. I just hope and pray that she was audible enough, but on our side, she was not audible adequately. If the IT guys can also check whether they could just do something on the volume. The next member to partake in the debate from ATM for 2 minutes, Honorable M.A. Phakathi Bangazitha.
Asibonge sihlalo. AGM notes and welcomes the budget of the Speaker's Office, Vote 1. Ndunankulu, njenge-AGM siyafisa ukuthi ihhovisi lakho lukubheke ngokucophelela uguquguquko lwesimo sezulu. Njengoba nje sivela kulama floods, siyofisa ukuthi lubheke ngokucophelela lokho. Ndunankulu, asibonge kakhulu umsebenzi owenzile ekuthenini kufinyelele zonke inhliziyo kusebenza ebantwini bakithi. Sibonge futhi Ndunankulu ukuthi ukuphatha kwakho ukuphatha kwakho isimo sasendlunkulu phethe ngokuhlonipheka nangendlela zonke ekumele indlunkulu ihlonipheke ngayo. Kodwa Speaker, siyofisa ukuthi uNdunankulu enze sure ukuthi izimali eziqondene nendlunkulu siphatheka ngohlobo oluhle, futhi inkosi yesizwe nayo iyasupport ngokuhloniphekileyo. Sicela ke Ndunankulu ukuthi sesigcina sithi imali allocated for Youth Development Fund yona ifinyelele ebantwini bakithi, kwenzeke lokhu ukuthi abantu bakithi bathuthuke, ngoba abantu abasha baningi Ndunankulu abangenamsebenzi nabahluphekayo abaswelayo kakhulukazi ey'ndaweni zasemakhaya. Siyabonga Ndunankulu ukuthi umsebenzi wakho ulokuwenza nje ngokuhlonipheka, futhi ke noma kukhona la esingagxeka khona siyohlele simhlonipha ihhovisi lakho. Siyabonga.
Bangazitha, siyabonga. Sakuphoxa sona isikhwathi. Thank you so much. The next member to partake, we are very objective, impartial, and ensuring that we are consistent when giving members the time. The next member from the ACDP, Honorable Esimanqele Bishop, for 2 minutes. The platform is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Greeting you and protocol observed. We as ACDP welcome the allocation of 767 million to the department. According to the Financial Budget speech, it was said that the Provincial Planning Commission will continue to monitor and facilitate alignment of provincial plans, policies and policy implementation instruments to the national and provincial priorities. It is also noted that the department will play a leading role in coordinating the work of Provincial Government Council, constituted over the years by the Provincial Executive Council, including Provincial Council on AIDS, the Council on Climate Change. Having said about climate change, we are appealing to you, Honorable Kuzeni, to ensure that the proper assessment, investigation, and safety prevention measures are put in place in future, including the regular monitoring, upgrades, and maintenance of are conducted, ensuring that our province is inadequate equipped should we experience the heavy rain in the future. During the looting, most schools were vandalized, and after the heavy rain that has hit our province, we see most infrastructure like schools, road, water, etc., being damaged. We urge the Premier to prioritize this infrastructure because our youth is our future. Thank you so much, Kuzeni, for empowering the youth in your budget and also the royal family. But as ACDP, we also plead ukuthi ngekubukele le khona le group Kuzeni engama drop outs or standard engafikanga kwa-10 engenama degree, but they're the part of the youth and they are most of them unemployable. So if we can also look at them. Thank you so much, Kuzeni.
Siyabonga kakhulu Bishop, kuphoxa sona isikhathi siyafisa abasinamandla kaJoshua, but let us proceed, honorable members. From the IFP, Honorable VF Hlabisa. Ulawayo, the platform is yours.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Premier, and Honorable members. As we debate the budget of the Office of the Premier, our province is still mourning the untimely departure of the citizens of this province as a result of the disastrous floods that befell our province 3 weeks ago. We keep all the families in our prayers for the loss they sustained. To the families who have not found their missing loved ones, we pray that God intervenes in his mighty ways so that these families can find closure. The Office of the Premier may not have the biggest budget to run as compared to other departments, but the Office of the Premier is the center that must hold. It is the custodian of good governance that should set the tone for the province and revive hope and trust to our people as trust deficit grow daily between the government and the citizens of our country. The vulnerable people of our province who are exposed to abuse and violence must find shelter, protection, and intervention from this Office of the Premier as a starting point. As the province has to rise from the triple disastrous effects of the COVID-19, the 2021 July unrest, and the recent floods, the Office of the Premier must provide leadership on economic recovery and the drive to create more job opportunities. It is the Office of the Premier that must lead when it comes to consequence management, clean audit, corruption-free department, and the office that spend the public fund prudently in an accountable and transparent manner. As the Premier has tabled the budget of the office at the amount of 767.551 million, the IFP welcomes and supports this budget. Of course, Honorable Premier, there are issues which must be given special attention. The failure to spend the previous year's 50 million budget for the KZN Youth Fund is not acceptable with the excuse that there were many applications. Out of the 4,000 youths who applied, the failure to spend have deprived some of those who will have been beneficiaries as we speak. It will be an indictment, Honorable Premier, to our unemployed youth if the additional 100 million to be added during the mid-adjustment budget will only be a budget on paper if we fail to spend 50 million at our disposal. Honorable Premier, the movement of the forensic investigation services from Treasury to the Office of the Premier has not delivered sufficient tangible result. The IFP notes the 15 concluded investigation, but can we be appraised, Honorable Premier, that out of 15 concluded investigations, how many people have been arrested? How many staff members have been effectively dismissed? And how much has been recovered from those who benefited unfairly? And how many service providers have been blacklisted? The only way, Honorable Premier, to restore trust of the government by our people will be when we act decisively against corrupt elements and send a clear message that those who steal from the public purse in KwaZulu-Natal will meet the might of the law. Of course, Honorable Premier, there are matters which are outstanding in terms of the use of the public money. The expenditure on the funerals held in the Royal Palace had not been concluded, as there were answers which could not be provided up to date, Honorable Premier. The same goes to the issue of the funeral of Inkosi Msebeyelanga. We have not been appraised fully. The IFP believes, Honorable Premier, that giving support to His Majesty and the royal household is an important function to the government of our province. Was the time up?
No, not yet. You're about to, you've got 35 seconds. You can just round up on those.
The renovations in the royal palace must be given a priority, as we know, even the late king had to lament the short works performed by the government in the palaces of His Majesty. Traditional leadership in our province also need to be accorded its relevant dignity and necessary support in order for it to effectively support the royal family in their duties.
Now your time is up. Thank you so much, Honorable Shabisa. The next member to close the debate before the Premier from the ANC for 10 minutes, Honorable ZLI Kale Ndosi. The platform is all yours.
Thank you, Chair. Mhlonishwa Ndunankulu, Khuzeni, Sihlalo wehlalo, Mhlonishwa uDuma, malunga ahloniphekile alendlu, umphakathi kaMthaniya, ngiyabingelela. Ngaphambi kokuthi ngiqale kwinkulumo yami, Ndunankulu, ngicela ungivumele ngithi ukuphendula le lunasi wesho lomhlonishwa umphephetho ebeyenzeka kulendlu. Ngizoqala ngenhlebo eqalwe uyena impela umhlonishwa umphephetho akade ezoyihleba lana ehleba ngelunga lendlu lasendlunkulu. Premier, kunezinto ekufanele ungazikhulumi namhlanje sizokhuluma ngezimali nezindaba ejulile zokuthi abantu bakithi bazophila kanjani. Inhlebo asike sibeke eceleni. Bese ngiyangena kule kaMhlonishwa uMncwango, ngizombiza ngoLuni. Lapho
ezokhuluma again Premier ngendaba yeimoto esiphendulwe more than angazi how many times. Sihlalile emakomitini imihlangano nje kunomhlangano ngomhla 11 March Premier lapho wawubiza kanye neteam yakho yonke iphelele sizokhuluma nje lento yezimoto. Siyacela manje siyazicelela singabantu bakaZulu-Natal ukuthi ayiyekwe lento yokudlalwa ngendlunkulu ngalendlela iopposition eyenza ngayo. And into ebhlungu kakhulu kudlalwa ngodaba lemoto le queen yethu engasekho. Manje lento abaloku beyenza bezo grandstander Premier siyacela ungaloku uyiphendula. Ndunankulu wesifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal umhlonishwa uKhuzeni. Sihlalo ohloniphekileyo umhlonishwa uDuma malunga ahloniphekile walendlu yesishamthetho. Mphakathi wakuleli lengabadi ngiyabingelela. Sithobisa amakhanda ngenhlonipho sikhala sizincengela kuwena nkosazane yemvula nomkhubulwana. Sicela intethelelo lapho sone khona. Yebo ngumvelase yithi sinisimvula kodwa sesiyacela intethelelo nokuhlonishwa. Ngeke sayinisa siyaxolisa. Bengithanda ukubonga inhlangano yami iAfrican National Congress ngongipha leli thuba lokuba ngiyingcenye yalenkulumo mpikiswano. Mhlonishwa ndunankulu kunamalungu emindeni awu63 asahlele emanzini asalinde ukutholakala kwezithandwa zabo ngemva kwenhlekelele esehlakalele siyisifundazwe saKwaZulu-Natal. Eminye lemindeni isendaweni yakaBesta kwaMashwe area 5 eNhlungwane. Abakwangaleka amagama abo yilawa. Umama uNkosazana Ngaleka indodana yakhe ubulelani uAsikelele oneminyaka ewu11 uyamkela oneminyaka ewu13 kanye nonkosikazi nokulunga Makhoba. Oshiye emhlabeni abantwana ababili uNana oneminyaka ewu10 noTumelo oneminyaka ewu8. Sengathi umveli nqanga ngasihawukela sikwazi ubathola abathandiweyo bethu. Sihlalo ohloniphekileyo inkulumo mpikiswane yami izogxila kakhulu esigabeni sesithathu phecelezi program 3 ethole isabelo mali engu175,635,000. Ngicaphune kumbhali uAmika Cabral ethi tell no lies, claim no easy victories. The lunatics, Chair. Following the shocks of the Second World War in the 1940s, the US and Europe implemented a variety of social programs to address the challenges that were facing their societies. Many of these programs were innovative and redistributive, with the creation of a welfare state and a wide-scale social assistance for children. Governments looked for ways to assess whether the money was being spent well. In 1949, which is 9 years later, honorable members, in the US, from a performance budget emerged as a response, followed by management of objectives and monitoring for results in 1960s. It took them, the so-called first world countries, 20 years, honorable members, of the opposition benches, for them to create systems to monitor monies spent. So this government is also trying. The first world countries took them 20 years to be able to establish some of the systems that we already have. We know this is found in Parkshurst of 2017, because akufanele sintshontshe information yabantu kumele sichaze ukuthi sithathaphi. We know for a fact that the respect given to the Europeans and the Americans is that their countries are governed by Europeans. Even the opposition is Europeans. Maybe that is why they get the respect they deserve, unlike in our country where the opposition just oppose for the sake of opposing, without showing any love for its country and its people. No one called Europe or the US a failed state. They were given a fair chance to rebuild their economies after the World War, infrastructure and all their systems, which today are a world class. This is what Honorable Rogers and his people are failing to do, to give this government a fighting chance. The noise that they are making is not assisting the country in any way. Instead, they are playing politics. While we want this government to be given a fighting chance, we must also do good in the eyes of our people, Honorable Premier. This province has 23 forensic investigations which were instituted by the government. 15 cases have been finalized, even your report says so, Honorable Premier, of which 8 are still outstanding. The committee understands that the non-finalization of this investigation are caused by capacity challenges within the forensic and investigative sections of some of the departments, and the challenges of being short-staffed. This must be addressed with urgency, Premier. Honorable Chairperson, this government, which is led by Kuzeni, has implemented the provincial consequence management framework to root out corruption. Under this framework, cases of corruption and fraud will be expedited, finalized within a set time frame. Also, it is meant to protect whistleblowers and prosecutors. It is allocated 35,170,000. Uma ungaboni ukuthi sizimisele kangakanani ukulwa nenkohlakalo, ngeke uphinde ubone, sala kanjalo. Honorable Chairperson, the department has transferred 24,888,000 to the Zulu Royal Trust. As a committee, we are worried about the fact that the trust is unable to fundraise substantial amounts, which is part of its mandate, coupled with the commercialization, which also seems not to be sustainable. Honorable Chairperson, there is an elephant in the room called Ingonyama Trust. What is its function? Vis-a-vis the functions of the Zulu Royal Trust when it comes to servicing of the royal palaces and royal amenities. The clarity of this, or even the collaboration of the two, might assist the royal household. Chairperson, this government has proven over time that it continues to care about the well-being and the welfare of the royal household. Premier Kuzeni, kanye nosomlomo uMahubele, siyaziqhenya ngendlela eniphathe ngayo ngobunono uhlelo lokulungisela ukubekwa kwesilo sethu. Siyabonga kakhulu. Niyababona ke ontamo olukhuni nontaba kayikhonjwa bayoqhubeka njalo Premier bekugxeka ngako konke okwenzayo, kodwa thina siyawubona umsebenzi owenzayo futhi nabantu bakaZulu-Natal bayawubona. Bayede. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you so much, Honorable Ndosi.
Nani Polish.
Now is the time that we allow our Honorable Premier to respond for 20 minutes. Kabisa, the platform is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Mtombeni. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to clarify some of the issues raised. Honorable members, I wish to welcome all contributions and points raised during the debate. They are so important to us that we will be able to take them forward. As Honorable Manzini, Honorable Zungu presented the report of the committee, we are grateful of the work that the committee continues to do and give us the direction. Youth fund not allocated was due to, firstly, a high level of applications, but at a time where we could not be able to do due diligence because of the lockdown. And we have always been passionate about youth development. Now we want to applaud the words of courage and that we should continue with this program. Now, the lunatics doubting Thomas. When we started this program, it was said, no, this is money that is allocated for cadres. It will be used to empower the ANC Youth League people, no one else. They come today, they stand in this podium. They lament that we have not been able to process the allocation. But what is good is that they are confirming that it has been used effectively for what it was meant. They just cannot repent and say they were wrong to preempt that this will be used to further the interest of the ANC. But the reality, they've been there. They've seen for themselves young people involved in business. Now, with regard to, as Honorable Zungu raised, the issue of the Royal House or the Zulu Royal Household Trust, it is of concern. It is of concern to us, as Honorable Zungu raised it, Honorable Kele has raised it again. It is of serious concern to us. Up to this far, it has not managed to raise even a cent. It does not have a convincing strategy. And the need to assess it is important. We are working on the assessment, whether it is the trust that is a problem or they cannot just work. And I must confirm and say to this House that I have even consulted with His Majesty about the need to seriously assess the composition, the work that the trust is doing. And we cannot continue to have an institution that is supported by government that should be working to support the Royal House, but doing nothing. So Honorable Zungu, Honorable Kele, we take those points very serious. Honorable Zungu and Honorable Zulu, the functioning of OSS, yes, will be upscaled. What have been allocated is not enough, but the functioning of OSS is key to ensure community participation. Honorable Zulu, I think you've went to town about the floods. So let me also commit that the forensic investigations that have been conducted will be fully implemented. I think we must also confirm that to Honorable Hlabisa. We are quite keen, committed, and very dedicated to ensure clean governance. Honorable Kwala, we take your point about the lack of project monitoring. But unfortunately, you take some of issues that have been identified by us, and you want to portray them as if they are our failures. It is us who have gone to KwaMaphumulo and identified that project has collapsed. And we are working to ensure that it is resuscitated. Now you come and speak about Prince Mbonisi, and I think you can raise that with the relevant authorities who will be prepared at a proper platform to engage with you on those issues. We cannot change this platform to be a platform to analyze what you have raised about qualifications and all of those things. And some of the issues you will have to raise to those who are responsible. Now, you also want us to, you ask us about the driver of the car for Queen Mother, Okakwabini. Now, I'm not sure, we don't employ drivers for queens. And I think you should direct that question to the relevant person. And in this case, maybe you are shy to go and ask it. You must tell us. We will follow on the accident, but don't come here and just raise issues that do not necessarily belong here. Now, Honorable Mwanga comes here and want to speak a lot about issues of good governance, and he says that he is blackmailed. Now, I think we must be honest. Blackmail can be done to people who are conscious, who still have consciousness. Those with no consciousness cannot be blackmailed at all. And I doubt that we can have a member, Honorable Nwanga, talking to us about blackmail. He's the last person to tell us about that. He is the last Imbuka, not in this house, but in KwaZulu-Natal as a whole. Oh, Mbali, Honorable Mbali Ntuli, bamshiya khona la. Usele nesiqoqo samadoda. Iningi limhlophe. Alwazi usizi luyalivakashela usizi lwabantu basemawoti, usizi lwabantu basemtubatuba, usizi lwabantu bakaNongoma. Uma kukhulunywa nge-unemployment bayifunde ephepheni ngama-statistics. Now that's a person who claims he can be blackmailed. No, blackmail is too less for him. He has lost his consciousness. He can't stand for what represents South African, a united South Africa. He has sold his own soul and cooperated with people who want to defend the status quo, where women are nothing but relegated to periphery, where blacks are still oppressed, where the economy is still manipulated by white males in particular. So we cannot be told by a person who has no consciousness about blackmail. Honorable Speaker, the issue of the cars and how much was paid was clarified. And the issue of the late Inkosi Yakwashembe, the report was presented in the committee and was discussed by the committee. Now, we are clear all reports are presented to the committee in detail. If the member is not satisfied, should take up the matter with authorities, their structures, including organs that are meant to fight corruption. Now, if you are proud of defeating the ends of justice, you will even come and do that here. Honorable Mwanga knows that there is a person who committed crime, went to negotiate with service providers after services were rendered. But he does not go to police and report that. He comes to grandstand, and then you tell us that you want to fight corruption. You should report any act of corruption to relevant authorities. Honorable Khoza didn't come, not because of what? He knows that if he has nothing to argue, he better not come and participate in the debate. He will not even participate virtually, not for the first time. Even during SOPA, he realized that no, there was nothing to argue. Instead, he will expose himself if he comes with lies and grandstand like Honorable Mwanga. We understand Mwanga does not control himself. He can't. He can't say, I'm not going there. He is told where to go and what to say. Honorable Shinga, we want to thank you for your contribution. I wish to take up the issue you have raised on the Youth Skills Development Program. Honorable Shinga, we will take up that matter. We will follow it. Thank you. Honorable Zungu, yes, difficult time require courage, and it requires that we stand firm even when our strength is tested, but we shall remain focused. ICT has become the backbone of doing many things and services. And therefore, we will continue with rolling out broadband, ensuring that we embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Honorable Rajpans, the small town rehabilitation program will be presented by MEC for Kokta, and we take your points as you have raised it. Honorable Hlabisa and Honorable Manele, no Honorable Pagati and Honorable Manele, the issue of climate change is quite important. It is because of that reason that in KwaZulu-Natal, we have established the KZN Climate Change Council, which include academics, it include NGOs, and it include the business sector. We will continue to do all we can to mitigate the effect of climate change. But we should work together to educate people and create awareness about challenges of disaster and the fact that our province is prone to disaster challenges. And therefore, we should respect and adhere to the guidance by authorities, especially on where to locate our houses and where not to stay and build houses. I think we'll take the point raised by Honorable Pagati. We shall support the Royal House as a whole and the King in particular, and ensure that he gets support to do his work. Honorable Mangele, the Planning Commission has done its work. We do have a strategy for 2019 to 2024, but we continue to plan and plan ahead. In KwaZulu-Natal, our plan now talks to the 20-year horizon, and that's why in most of the document we even speak about 2025, 2035 for KwaZulu-Natal. Honorable Hlabisa, building trust between the people and government is quite important. And that's why we are always transparent. And that's why even in the portfolio committee, we present reports as they are. We shall continue with ensuring that we run the campaign that we have started, that of doing right even when no one sees me. It should be what we all embrace, both as public servants, but also in the public service. Clean audit and consequence management, you will agree that the Premier's office performance has improved in terms of accountability. And we shall continue to ensure that we remain accountable, but also consequence management will be effected when necessary. We will follow on all forensic reports and ensure that they are implemented. As far as we know, all reports on the expenditure for funerals have been presented to the portfolio committee. Renovations in palaces has been undertaken, and I think you have seen the change, especially when it comes to security. Honorable Cele, we want to thank you for your words of wisdom and courage. We shall ensure that we continue to provide leadership in all areas, and recall that we should always ensure that we move together with the people is important. And therefore, ensuring that war rooms are supported, ICT is not an asset for the privileged few, will be taken forward, Honorable Cele. Honorable members, I must say that as the OTP, we've got a very good relationship with the portfolio committee. There is no report that we do not present, and at all times we present reports as they are. All questions that are asked to us are responded to. Now, the report that is said that we delayed to present on the investigation in the Department of Treasury, we investigated that. When we got that report, we presented it to the committee. We did indicate that at that time, some of the issues that were in the report were being challenged and we could not release the report in entirety. But members who have asked for the report have been given the report, I believe. And therefore, if there is a need, we will take that matter forward. Honorable Chair, as we conclude, we have seen what is unprecedented. The emergence of COVID-19 pandemic, the passing of His Majesty the King and Queen Regent, the July unrest, and the recent devastating floods. Yes, we have been battered but not broken. KwaZulu-Natal will rise. We affirm that difficulty is not new, especially to the Black people of this country. The mass funerals that we have seen in the recent period have been there during the difficult times. Chief Albert Luthuli presided over mass funerals because of the apartheid regime. He himself said he doesn't know what the future holds for him, whether it is humiliation or arrest, but the road to freedom via the cross. We have internalized the teachings of Oliver Tambo that as cadres in the revolution, we should never expect that things will be easy. It was Oliver Tambo who said, as I quote, "The intervening period is dark, bitter, but it finds its glory in the act of the struggle. The future is bright. The end is glorious. It is peaceful." Close quote. KwaZulu-Natal will rise. As Tambo said, the future is bright, it is glorious and peaceful. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Hey, wabona umphephethu ama-lunatics.
Thank you so much, honorable members. I'm sure we'll all agree that it has been a good debate, progressive, which is giving the directive, even for the larger society of KwaZulu-Natal. We've come to an end again on advancing the generational mission. We are now going to break for 5 minutes as we proceed and prepare for the next debate, which is going to be presented by MEC and Ube. Let us break so that when there is honorable members will then proceed. Thanks.
5 minutes.